This is a bizarre story, this, and I say we just got a text about it, and a couple of you have actually referred to it in tweets and things. It started as a bit of a joke, but now the US Air Force has told people not to go near Area 51, which our guest will explain exactly what Area 51 is in a moment. More than 1 million people have apparently responded to an event on Facebook threatening to storm the top secret base in Nevada, which some believe is home to aliens. Well, let's have a word with our chum Tony Topping in Southport. Tony, a very good morning to you.
Oh, good morning, Commander Kellner. Special Agent Topping checking in. Yes, good morning to you.
Bless you.
I see that, hello, mate. I see that, yes, it is indeed 1 million to storm Area 51, despite the fact that they could be shot and the US military would use lethal force. And the thing is that you don't mess with the US military. You really, really don't. But there's a worrying aspect to this that I'd like to discuss with you. It's something that is quite unusual, really, and an unorthodox take on it. And it's troubling me, really. I mean, I've been years at this, and it just originally, Martin, Area 51 is known as Groom Lake. Began in about 1955, I think, when they were testing U-2 spy planes there. And I think President Clinton, he signed an order protecting that area from environmental legislation. So there's controversy there with that as well. And I think countries right across the board, from Russia to India, Russia has its own Area 51 as well, called Kapustin Yar.
Kapustin Yar. Well,
yeah.
Just explain what we mean by Area 51.
Okay, well, Area 51 is basically a test facility. It's known as Groom Lake, which is because it is near a lake that's dried up. So it's actually a test facility where they test classified aircraft. By odd coincidence, however, when I first started out with all this and I put my website up and I had UFOs coming in over my house and I was filming them, my website statistics indicated that I had mysterious visits from China Lake, which is also a facility as well. Now, why an area like that would pay attention to my website? Well, possibly there's a possibility that something is going on, that there is a clandestine liaison with UFOs actually going on outside of the democratic process, which is the actual hot issue. So you've got that going on as well, where, as I said last time, you've got generals and admirals picking up the phone, wanting to find out what's going on, and this great big lockdown coming on them, the great big wall of secrecy that comes down on them. So, if an admiral and a general rings up Area 51, because of national security, they would not be entitled to tell him what was going on there due to the compartmentalized nature of the security classifications.
And who are these people that believe Area 51 is home to aliens? And how did that arise, and why have 1 million people responded to this Facebook event? I mean, these are all questions that...
It's all questions, and that's the bit that troubles me, actually, the 1 million to storm Area 51. It certainly troubles my mate Nick Pope. And he's obviously indicated that if there was aliens there, they'd certainly move if there was such a scenario going on where the base has been kind of highlighted and exposed, the first thing they'd do would shift them. I mean, if you look at Bob Lazar, for example, Area 51 allegedly is where downed UFOs are meant to be stored. Right. Bob Lazar was a whistleblower. It was there in 1989. He worked at the base in 89. You can look him up online. He claims all kinds of things, that he was involved with the UFO and ET stuff, and claims that it's actually a base, is actually at S4, south of Groom Lake, and it may have even moved decades ago, but he says it's an utterly pointless exercise, which it is. And what troubles me a great deal, because I've studied this very closely, it is in fact the fact that you could, if you have a look, this would be fascinating to your listeners, if you have a look at it, there's a book written by Chapman Pincher. Forgotten the name of it. Do you know Chapman Pincher, Martin?
I know the name from the Daily Express years ago. He was an investigative journalist, wasn't he?
Yeah, he wrote a manual called Their Trade is Treachery and a few other things. In this book, and I've forgotten the title of it, he gives a reference to a unit in Romanian intelligence called B5, Service B5. And what they were responsible for, and this is true, by the way, because there's a book out about it, they were responsible for pumping conspiracy theories into the Western media, and the more bizarre the conspiracy theories, the better it worked for Russian counterintelligence. So what you've got is a situation where you had a foreign intelligence service in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, from putting in these conspiracy theories to see what would happen. And it appeared the more ridiculous they were, the better they worked. So you could have, in my opinion, evidence of something. This 2 million storming Area 51 doesn't look right because it isn't right, because it could be the work, possibly, of a foreign intelligence services whipping up a bit of stick on U.S. soil. And in fairness to the military and intelligence services of the U.S., the last thing they actually need is problems like that, because they're dealing with some very real security issues. Yeah. So, you know, and the troubling thing as well is if you're a young person and you've got a young family, Martin, as I understand it, college are they or whatever?
No, they've grown up now. They were a young family, but, you know, like all of us, they're getting older.
Well, of course, mate, of course, older and wiser. But young people who might want to go there, the thing is they don't know what they're getting into, and it could be disastrous for them, disastrous for their criminal record, disastrous because they could be then be monitored by the authorities. And I'm suspicious of what I'm hearing. I'm just suspicious of the motivation behind it all, because it won't cause further disclosure to the UFO phenomenon. In fact, quite the opposite. It'll cause further lockdown of secrecy. You know what I'm saying?
And am I right in saying that, actually, Mark, my producer, was telling me that the military they've got the perfect right to shoot people down, you know, without consequence?
Yes. Well, the U.S. military have a defence doctrine. I've forgotten the phrase it's called, but they do have a defence doctrine of that nature, whereby, you know, you see, the thing is, though, that the U.S. military, if they did that, they could have a massacre on their hands, which is not what they want. No. But it could be what a foreign intelligence services wants to discredit them. You've got to think that way. It's a very unorthodox view, but after years of doing this and looking at it all, you've got to think, well, is it that? Is it actually something nefarious going on that's causing all this? I mean, these guys on YouTube who set this up, they're very naive. I saw them, I've forgotten their names, Martin, but they're very naive young men there talking about this. And it will gain nothing other than further secrecy and further lockdown when, for example, you're trying to disclose further information and openness about it. It'll backfire horrifically, I do believe, in my opinion.
Does this all stem from the Roswell incident? Is it all...
Yeah.
We'll go back to that?
It is. It's meant to stem from the Roswell incident. I mean, there was projects. For example, one of the projects where they recovered UFOs was something called Project Pounce, and I think there was something in Norway at the end of World War II when the British Army recovered a UFO. I think Lord Mountbatten was involved in that one. But you've got this string of kind of situations going on where UFOs do indeed, it appears, come down to Earth, and they are recovered, from Vietnam to Russia to even Britain, as I say, where they're meant to be recovered. Well, one of the crashes up in Wales there.
Why all the secrecy? I mean, if UFOs have come down and and they've been probed and they've looked at what's happened, why is nobody telling us anything? I mean, do they think it's going to... Would it be like, the War of the Worlds or the invasion of the body snatchers, and there'd just be panic everywhere?
No, not quite. What this is actually something to do with it. The cover-up itself has tentacles in Operation Paperclip after World War II. Oddly enough, a casual look online, and you will see Area 51 veterans who worked there just saying the fact that at the end of World War II, the Allies won the low-tech war, but Germany won the high-tech war. Germany's rocket technology, Germany's science, all went into America under Operation Paperclip. So what you've got is this situation going on where the UFO cover-up has its tentacles within that kind of thing. And it concerns legitimate government and legitimate military that there is a cover-up in place, because if America has got technology from a downed UFO, they don't want the Chinese to have it. And one of the rumour mills of one of the technology avenues that they're exploring is something called flash travel, or speed without acceleration. Is a major... So behind the scenes, there's like this hidden race to acquire this technology, keep quiet about it, and gain the competitive edge in military and industry. That appears to be what is going on. And the cover-up does stem from, I say, World War II, really, when they definitely, the US government have covered it up.
Yeah.
They definitely
the internet is a marvellous thing.
Yes.
Last night we had a lot of people phoning in saying that the moon landing didn't take place, and they were pointing us to all the stuff on the internet that proves absolutely. Tony, are you one of those people that thinks the moon landing was faked?
No, the moon landing thing, the controversy is not that it was faked. The controversy was where they got the technology from to do it. That's the thing. That's the issue. So they got the technology from the Nazi scientific base.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Well, I can remember the jokes in the, going back to the 60s and everything, where people say, the space race between Russia and America. Well, America are winning because our German scientists are better than your German scientists.
You got it. You got it. And that's right. And I could go deeper into the narrative, Martin, but it's not for national radio. But it's a dirty little filthy business what goes on, and it worries me. It greatly concerns me that young people are going to go out there thinking that they're doing the right thing, only to discover that they could be arrested, they could be shot at, and could be victims of operations directed against Western democracies to destabilise.
And of course, it all takes on a much more. We used to hear about this stuff in the 60s, 70s, the 80s, but now with artificial intelligence and facial recognition, and when you think of what AI can do, it all takes on a much more sort of sinister veneer than it did, years and years ago.
Well, it does. I mean, if you look up somebody called David Adair online and his tale about being at one of these facilities and having to try and get one of these so-called down UFOs powered up because it thinks it had a mind of its own. They were artificially intelligent. So there's a big race to understand from these down UFOs how the artificial intelligence works. When you've got, let's say, the European Space Agency just getting to grips with AI in space and all this kind of thing, it's a very the UFO cover-up is a very complicated thing with something nefarious behind it. But this Area 51 thing, I'm very suspicious of it, Martin. I really am.
Fair enough.
Alarm bells ring.
Well, and you have a website, don't you, Tony, that people can look at?
Yeah, come and have a look at me. It's TonyToppingUFOs.com.
TonyToppingUFOs.com. Just before you go, I mentioned War of the Worlds, I mentioned Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Some of those original sort of black and white 50s, not all black and white, but 50s American movies like that, I absolutely love. I think especially Invasion of the Body Snatchers, a very low-budget movie. Don Siegel, I think, directed it years and years ago. I just wondered, did you sort of get into this business by watching movies originally?
No, I didn't, mate. No. I got into this business, actually, by filming something mysterious over my house that illuminated a TV antenna.
Right.
And it was not an aircraft, and I had the special effects director take a look at it, and his conclusion was it was a UFO, and that's how the fun started with me. Right. And I've had very strange goings on of being stalked. I had mysterious phone calls. I even had one guy, I don't know whether I mentioned this to you, Martin, claiming to be from German Defence Intelligence, asking me questions over the phone. Phone rings, don't know how he got the number. And bizarre, what was hilarious was he told me where he was, that he was in Frankfurt somewhere, and he started questioning me about artificial intelligence and UFOs. Now, is he, isn't he? I don't know. But, it has happened. There is an unwritten law. If you start getting involved with UFOs, you could be possibly watched and monitored very closely. And that's as ethical and unethical.
That's why I don't get involved. I like it on screen, you see. I liked, I tell you what I thought was another great film, the original, not the remake. The remake was rubbish, but the original of the Stepford Wives. Did you ever see that?
Oh, yes, I did many years ago. That was really good,
It was a great film, Lynette Newman. Have you ever seen that, Mark, The Stepford Wives?
No, missed out there.
You certainly have. It's about how the wives are programmed to be docile and just serve their husbands.
Oh, I could do that.
You'd like that, would you? It's, but they looked the same, but their minds have been reprogrammed. Oh. And Nanette Newman, who also used to advertise Fairy Liquid on the telly.
Yeah.
I remember her.
Yes. Oh, Nanette Newman, marvelous. I think she's still alive, actually. Yeah. She was married to Brian Forbes, who was a film director.
Yes, film director he was, wasn't he? Yeah, great.
And he directed, and of course their daughter was on the TV, children's TV. I think I've forgotten her
There's
name.
also Martin. I mean, there's also the other crazy
Emma Forbes. Emma Forbes was the daughter. Yeah.
That's the Emma Forbes. There was the crazy rumour as well of somebody from the Special Boat Squadron, a unit of the Special Boat Squadron. I don't know whether it's true. I just find it fascinating. Ordered to go on London Underground and arrest what was possibly 2 aliens on the tube and detain them.
Yeah.
So this veteran of the SBS said, but you just don't know. It's Cranksville, and you just don't know. But
I mean, sometimes they think it's aliens on the tube, but it's just people who've come down from Yorkshire saying hello to everybody. You know,
I love it.
Smiling on the tube.
Love it.
Yeah, well,
very witty.
Thank you very much indeed.
2 in the morning. That was very funny.